I'll make it as quick as possible. I'll do my best. But I'm going to be talking to you about what I did and then the lessons that I learned through the whole job hunting process. Because I mean, it might just work for you as well. I don't mean survival job. I don't mean transition job. I mean proper job. And I started working a month after I arrived. Number 5 lesson that I learned during my job hunting process is the resumes here are different. Hallos, it's Kosi here again. Welcome to my channel. How are you today? Thank you for stopping by. If you're a new subscriber, hey, welcome to the party. We're so happy to have you. That's our welcome song and our welcome dance here. So welcome to the community. And if you're a returning subscriber, hey, what do you do? I hope you've been keeping safe since my last upload or since the last video you watched. I'm so happy that you've come back to hear what this girl has to say today. Thank you once more for stopping by. Guys, I'm so excited about today's video because we've hit 100 plus subscribers. So this is me saying thank you to all 100 of you that think watching my video is worth your time. Thank you for helping me build the community, and I'm super excited and I can't wait to see what the future progress for this channel is going to be. So thank you for making that possible. Today's video is a continuation of the series Newcomer in Canada, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today. It's going to be story time. How I got my first job as a new immigrant in Canada with 0 Canadian experience. It's possible. So do you want to know what I did? Do you want to hear my story? Then don't go anywhere. I will get into the video in a bit. Disclaimer, everything I'm going to be talking to you about today is my personal opinion. Of course, so many other people's story will be different from mine, but this is my own story. Don't go anywhere because at the end of this video, you would also get the lessons learned. So story time. Like some of you already know, maybe you've watched my previous videos. I've mentioned before that I visited Canada before I finally moved as a permanent resident to Canada. So my visit to Canada was just to see what's up with this Canada place that everyone is always talking about. So I asked questions when I arrived to find out what's possible, because for us, we moved to Canada because we wanted better opportunities. So I wanted to be very strategic with my moves. So when I visited, I asked all the questions to know what is possible in terms of job, and I realized that, guys, the IT industry here was booming, or rather is booming, just the way it's also booming in so many other places, I think. So there's a higher frequency of IT jobs than other jobs. So I thought to myself, you know what, maybe I should make a career switch to IT, because I was actually contemplating that before. So I decided on that trip that I was going to do that. And then when I went back home, just when I started applying for the PR visa, I also started my master's. So I realized that you could decide to do a master's or do a certification, just things that will help you be relevant in the industry that you want to eventually work in when you move to Canada. That was basically the summary of what I learned. So I went back home and I did my master's in business administration, because I was actually thinking of doing like IT project management. I didn't really want to do a lot of technical IT stuff. I was more interested in doing business side of IT. So the plan for me was to go into IT project management, and that was why I went back and I did my master's. So after my master's, of course, I was super excited, thinking that, you know, everything is making sense. Everything is making sense. I'm ready to get a job as soon as I arrive, because my PR application was also ongoing at that time. And unfortunately for me, after my master's, I had issues with my school. I'm not going to mention the school. Some of you that know me personally know what I'm talking about. But I had issues with my school and I didn't get my results immediately. And I had to wait another 1 year for the issues to be rectified. It was just a whole lot of back and forth. But one thing that happened during that process that kind of inspired me to say, you know what, I'm going to prove this woman wrong. When I went to our deputy registrar's office to complain to her that, see, I'm relocating very soon, and if I'm not able to sort this issue with my results, it's going to be more difficult for me to sort it from all the way from Canada. You know, I just talked to her like a daughter talking to a mother. And there was something she said to me at the end of the conversation that was like, okay. So I told her that, see, I'm relocating and I actually did my master's because I want to be able to get a good job when I arrive. And she looked at me and she said, so you think when you get to Canada, is this master's that you did that you will need to get a job? Like, basically her point was, when you go to Canada, you're going to have to do survival jobs. You're not going to be able to do the kind of job that you want. because you were a newcomer in Canada. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I've heard people say these things several times, but somewhere in my heart, I didn't just believe it. Like, for me, I took that as a challenge that when I get to Canada, I wouldn't have to do survival jobs. And that brings me to my first point. Guys, you will hear a whole lot of people tell you that when you arrive in Canada, you have to do survival jobs. The truth is that if you're a manager wherever you're coming from, moving to Canada, I guess it's only fair for you to adjust your expectations. Maybe you might not be able to get that managerial job as your first job when you arrive, but it doesn't mean you're going to have to do like menial jobs because you're a newcomer in Canada. There were two things that I heard before I arrived, and I was very sure that I wasn't going to have to go through that. The first thing I heard was that I would have to do survival jobs, work with retail, maybe at Tim Hortons or Walmart or McDonald's, just do many of these retail jobs first of all before I get a proper job. That was what my deputy registrar was trying to tell me, but I didn't believe her. And guys, trust me, you don't have to believe that. Second thing I heard is that without Canadian experience, we're not be able to get a good job. Guys, that's not entirely true. Canadian experience, of course, helps you remain more competitive. It depends on the kind of job you're looking for, really. Canadian experience is important, but doesn't mean that you can get a job without Canadian experience. So those two things, get it out of your mind. And please trust that you'll be able to get something decent when you arrive. Number two thing I learned when I visited was LinkedIn is their networking platform. Like, if your LinkedIn is not on point, please do your best to start getting relevant on LinkedIn. Change your LinkedIn profile picture to something more professional. Comment on people's posts, share posts if you can, ask people to give you recommendation. So I did all of that because I realized that LinkedIn here is a big deal. That's the most used professional social media site. So I started asking people for recommendations before I arrived, and when I arrived, I identified the companies that I was interested in working with, and then I went on LinkedIn and identified like the key decision makers in such companies. Let me say at this point that working with like the big fours and the global companies was not really priority for me. As expected, I was just trying to get Canadian experience, something decent that would give me Canadian experience. So anyway, I went on LinkedIn and I sent all the key decision makers, like the CEO, the recruiting manager, the talent acquisition manager of the companies that I was interested in working with. I sent them this message here, and my message was, hello, ... I hope this message meets you well. My name is Kosi. I just moved to Calgary, and I'm currently seeking job opportunities in the IT industry. My research tells me that ... that's the name of the company, would be a great place to start my career in Calgary. I worked as an IT project manager just before my relocation, and I would like to continue my career along that path. However, I'm willing to take on any volunteer opportunities that might be readily available as a means to gather relevant work experience. I understand that you may have a very busy schedule, but I will appreciate a few minutes of your time to enable me get better insight on how to go about my job search. I look forward to hearing from you. Best, Kosi. So I sent this message to several of them, and as expected, not all of them responded. One of the people that responded is my current employer, and someone else actually responded, and I was able to get a coffee meeting with him, and we still chat from time to time right now. So my current employer responded to this message, and then we had a first meeting. After the first meeting, I feel like he was not very convinced that maybe I had because I just moved to the IT industry actually. So I feel like he was not very convinced that I was able to handle the IT project manager role that I was asking for. But he said something to me after the he sent me a message after the interview, and he said, you know what, I admire your proactivity. I might not be able to help you with the IT project management role right now, but look at what I'm thinking about. And then he explained to me this new business practice that they were planning to launch that has a lot to do with recruiting. And guys, I had done recruiting before in the past, so I kind of understood the requirements to get that job done. And for me, that was an amazing opportunity to start that journey. And I said yes, and then we had an interview. My interview was not really an interview, it was a presentation. So he sent me the key points that he wanted us to talk about regarding the role. I did some research, prepared a PowerPoint slide. I talked about all of that in my video here, where I talked about my first 100 days working in Canada. So if you want to know how that whole process went, you should check this video right here. So after the interview and everything, I got my job. I got the job. and I started working about 1 month after I arrived. I proved my deputy registrar wrong, and I wish I can tell her to her face that, madam, I have a pretty decent job. I didn't have to do survival jobs in Canada, even when I had no Canadian experience and no Canadian education. Guys, so story time is over. 5 lessons that I have learned during this whole process. The first lesson is that transition jobs are actually important. They are actually helpful, you know, especially when you need to start making Canadian dollars, so you don't have to exhaust all the money that you came from home with. The different kind of transition jobs that you can do are: number 1, customer service rep. So many of us actually have transferable skills to get that job done. So yes, if you're having a hard time getting the kind of job that you really want when you arrive, please consider customer service jobs. I hear it's relatively easy to get into those kind of roles than maybe the managerial role that you're looking for, and then you can work your way up the ladder when you get into the organization through a customer service job. Number 2 is retailing. You can actually work at maybe a fashion store, or you can also work at maybe a grocery store, where you can work shifts. You can decide to work evening shifts or work weekend shifts, just something to help you get some money in while we are looking for the kind of job that you really want. Doing a few hours in a retail store is also a nice option for a transition job. Number 2 that I learned when I was job hunting is networking. Networking is very important. Like I already mentioned when I talked to you about my story, I reached out to people on LinkedIn. That's networking, telling them that I was looking for a job and that I was willing to also take on volunteering opportunities. So at the end of the day, I realized that all the jobs that I applied for online through Indeed and all the other job search engines, I actually didn't get an interview through any of them. I only got an interview through my network on LinkedIn. So making sure that you are making a deliberate effort at networking is really important. It might not be LinkedIn for you, it might actually just be a referral. I have a few friends who also got their jobs through referrals. Another thing I noticed with networking is that when you're networking, don't put it out there yet that you want people's help. You should be able to also provide something that those people can also benefit from you. So basically, this video is not about networking. Maybe I'll do another video about networking, but this video basically is just to tell you that if you're really looking for a job, maybe you should also consider building your network on LinkedIn through friends and referrals. Is also very helpful when you're job hunting, because for me, I didn't get any job through job search engines and applying online. My job was through my LinkedIn network. The various platforms to network is LinkedIn, of course, like I said. You can also sign up on Meetup. Meetup is where people post details of the events that they have, and if you think the details is kind of similar to what you're interested in, then you can join them for the event and then meet 1 or 2 people, follow up with them, have coffee meetings. And that place where you can also have access to events that you're interested in is Eventbrite. So you can also check on Eventbrite for events that are relevant to what you're looking for. When you get there, please don't remain on your seat. Make sure it's pretty awkward and it's something that you learn. I had to learn it with practice. But making conversations with people and then following up with them after the event is also another way of networking and growing your network. Another networking platform that I also found useful is the NEWCOMER centers. Like I mentioned in this video right here, towards the end of this video, finding a community of newcomers like you is also very important, because those people might have relevant information for you, maybe through the job fairs they went for or through information from a friend. Number 3 lesson I learned is the different job search engines we have in Canada. The first one and the most popular is Indeed, Indeed.ca. Many companies actually post their openings on Indeed.ca, so make sure you go on Indeed.ca, set an alert for the kind of jobs that you're looking for. But guys, like I said to you, Indeed did not work for me. I didn't even get 1 interview from Indeed, so try Indeed, but make sure that Indeed is not your only option. Another job search engine that we have here is Glassdoor. Same way Indeed works is the same way Glassdoor works. We also have Monster. Same way Indeed and Glassdoor work is the same way Monster works. And then we also have LinkedIn jobs. So even on LinkedIn, you can actually see companies. Maybe if you follow companies that you're interested in working with, you'll also be able to see when they post a new job opening. And if you're interested, of course you can apply. And the secret about LinkedIn is that even when you apply, you can go ahead and send the recruiting officer, the recruiting manager, or the talent acquisition manager a short message to say, oh guys, I just applied to this job and I thought to touch base with you to ask a few questions about the job. Or you can actually send a message to someone who already does the job that you're currently trying to do in that company to say, oh, I applied for this job and I thought maybe to touch base with you to find out more about the job. You might be lucky, the person might give you more inside information about how to go about your job application and the kind of skills that you need for that job, so you can play those skills up when you're submitting your application. Capiche? Number 4 lesson I learned is the importance of soft skills. Like I mentioned, yes, many of us don't have Canadian experience and many of us also don't have Canadian education. But one thing that we have that is transferable from wherever we are coming from is our soft skills. Many employers want to see that you're going to be able to integrate into the workplace culture if they employ you. I've also heard a few recruiting managers say they actually prefer to employ someone who's got the right attitude and maybe little experience compared to someone who's got all the experience and very bad attitude. So many of them actually look out for what kind of attitude do you have. Do you know how to communicate very well? Will your values be a good fit for their own values as an organization? So beyond your skills and your experience, many employers want to see that you'll be able to integrate into their workplace culture if they give you a job. Number 5 lesson that I learned during my job hunting process is the resumes here are different. I'm going to do another video after this one where I'll talk to you about things that I learned about resumes alone. The resumes here are actually different, so make sure that you have a master resume. So your master, I don't want to go deep into this, but anyway, I'll just do a quick summary. So your master resume is your resume that has all the information about everything that you've done, all the experience you have, all the education you have, all the skills you have will be contained in your master resume. And your master resume might be as long as 10 pages, it doesn't really matter. But what matters is that when you are now ready to apply for a job, that you've seen the job description online or anywhere else, please make sure you don't send your master resume for that job application. It's very important to make sure that you tailor your resume to suit that particular job description. There's something they have called the ATS, and what ATS does is that because many recruiters get a bunch of applications for one particular opening, ATS helps them screen candidates that are not good fits based on their resume even before the recruiter gets to see the application. So what that means is that if the job description has said you need to have XYZ and your resume does not show that you have XYZ, ATS already eliminates your resume from the bunch, so the recruiter doesn't even get to see your resume in the first place. So making sure that you read the job description and matching your resume to fit what the employer has said they are looking for is very important. I'm going to do another video to talk to you guys in depth about the things that I've learned about resume and how it works here. Guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you are watching up to this point, you are the real MVP. Thank you for hanging in there up to this point. I appreciate the time that you have spent with me here today. If you enjoyed anything that I have said in this video, do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, like the video, do not forget to share. So many people out there might also need the information that I have shared with you today. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe before you leave. Please subscribe before you leave and join the community so you know when I have a new upload. Also, if you have any suggestions about the things that you want me to talk about in my upcoming videos, please leave me your suggestion in the comment section below. So till my next video, please stay safe. I wish you all the best in your Canada journey as usual, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. Peace out.